How do you figure out your macronutrient ratios? Stick around, I'm going to give you my insights to the topic. Welcome back. My name is Zach. I'm your health coach, and today we're trying to figure out your macronutrient ratios. But before we get into that, if you're new to the channel, go ahead, click that subscribe button, as well as hit that notification button. You can find out every time that I post a new video. It's important to remember that figuring out your macronutrient ratios is the last step. Right, if you haven't fixed the quality of your diet, right, if you haven't cut out the crap and increased your nutrient density, all right, then the quantity of fats and proteins and carbs means nothing. So if you're just tuning in now, make sure you watch What is the Best Diet Parts 2 and 3. What makes figuring out your ratio so difficult, right, is the amount of factors that are involved. In part 1 of this series, I proved to you that, right, genetics and individuality was a massive component to figuring out your macronutrient ratios, right, that your ancestors and your lineage could predispose your body to digesting and assimilating, right, some macronutrients better than others. The current season that you're in could change your ratios. For example, imagine summer months, right? You might crave foods that are lighter, right, more water content, right, fruits and vegetables. As a comparison into the winter, you might crave more fleshier foods. Your overall activity can also be a massive component to figuring out your ratios. An athlete, a professional athlete, is not going to eat the same as a construction worker, and that construction worker is not going to eat the same, you know, as someone that's at a desk job for 8 hours. Your overall goals could be a factor, right? Weight loss and putting on muscle are probably going to have different ratios to get to that end goal. What's important to understand is that your ratios are in a constant state of fluctuation, right? They change, okay? And the only way to really know is to experiment, okay? And then learn and then listen to your body during the process. A great book that can help guide you through this process is The Paleo Cure by Chris Kresser. I really enjoy the way that Chris Kresser teaches this topic, and therefore I'm going to use his general recommendations. Start out by figuring out your carbohydrate intake. If you're brand new to it, it's a good idea to start out with a moderate carbohydrate intake, somewhere between 15 and 30% of your total calories. If your goal is weight loss, you're probably going to have a lower carbohydrate intake, somewhere between 10 to 15%. However, if your goal is to put on size or muscle mass or to increase performance for a sport, it's probably good to have your carbohydrates a little bit higher, somewhere between 30 and 45%. From there, figure out your protein intake. Okay, normal protein intake is somewhere between 10 to 20%. However, this is more of a maintenance ratio, right? If your goal is more weight loss, it's good to increase your protein intake, maybe somewhere between 20 to 30%. Protein is one of the most satiating macronutrients. It helps stabilize your blood sugar levels. It prevents you from craving sweets and other things that can cause you to gain weight. And of course, if your goal is to put on muscle mass, it's good to have your protein intake higher, maybe somewhere between 25 to 35%. However, you never want to go over 35%. Studies show that the body has a difficult time processing more than 35% of your total calories in protein. During the process of metabolizing protein, we know that nitrogen is released, which is converted into ammonia, and when you're under 35%, it's easy for the body to excrete this through its urine. However, once you start getting over 35%, there becomes this kind of toxic buildup of ammonia in the body. Once you have figured out your carbs and your protein, the rest of your macronutrient ratios is really gonna just be fat. Now remember that these are just general recommendations, right? This is a good place to start, but there's a good chance that you're gonna have to change these macronutrient ratios when you start listening to your body. Your body will give you a tremendous amount of signals, right, to show you whether you're eating the correct ratios or not. A great book to learn these signals and how to identify these signals, right, is How to Eat, Move, and Be Healthy by Paul Chek. He shows you how the body can communicate with you, right? Not just weight gain and weight loss. The food that you eat will drastically affect, of course, your digestion, but also your feelings and your mental state. For example, he shows you how eating too much carbohydrates, right, in the short term is gonna make you feel anxious or tired but wired at the same time, have a headache, or the need to crave fat. It's a constant experiment, right? constant learning your body, and this process is not going to happen in a day or a week or a month, right? It takes time, but hopefully you learned something today about figuring out your macronutrient ratios. That's all we have. Thanks so much for joining. If you enjoyed the content, please give a thumbs up, subscribe, and share it with a friend. That's all we have for today. Thanks so much. Hopefully you're one step closer to learning how to thrive. Peace.